felting the dragon, the face. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Thursday, so we're doing our needle felted dragon tutorial. Every Thursday I make needle felting tutorials, some longer tutorials like this dragon and other short videos on tips and tricks and how to improve your needle felting and some projects for you. If you're interested in something like that, don't forget to hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up and come back every Thursday for more videos. Okay, so this dragon is really coming to life now with his little face, and I just wanted to explain how I've got where I've got. It's getting harder to film because he's so big and ungainly, so I've shown you what I can, but it's actually, although the face looks complicated, it's lots of quite simple steps, simple shapes, so I'll just explain what I was doing, put in the footage when I've got footage, and I hope this makes sense to you all. And also I want to point out, I had my old dragon in my head for reference, but I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to make, just that it was going to be a dragon. So I've just been going with it, how I feel the wool's going. So he's turning out a little more vicious and slightly cartoony than I had anticipated, but that's just because I wanted to try different things with him. So first of all, you'll have noticed the big teeth, but with your dragon you can do any of the steps that you want. You can make him however you want. If you want him friendly or fierce or anything else, it's up to you. Okay, so the steps we made to get his face to this stage. Firstly, I just felt like trying out the teeth. Totally skip this step if you want him more friendly, but I just wanted to see what it was like because I've never done that before. Original dragon has his mouth shut pretty much, which you could totally do very easily, but I just wanted to try a change. So what I did, very like the Talons, I just felted tooth shapes, which are just smaller versions of the Talons. I dipped it in the Paverpol, waited a couple of hours, and then just gently tried to smooth it off and sculpt it a little bit. Then I covered it in the Pin Flare gloss sealant, and then because I knew I wanted to add the pink underneath because you'd see the insides of his mouth, I also felted 2 white strips down the side to be his back teeth, just because that does show up slightly. So then I cut 2 strips of the pink merino pre-felt just to pop in there to give this flash of colour in his mouth. The next step is the lips here. So all I did for that was taking a piece of the beautiful violet fleece, I just felted between my fingers, really keeping it quite tight and firm because I almost wanted a sheet. You could use a pre-felt actually for this. This would work perfectly. It just wasn't, I don't have it in the exact colour that I'm making the dragon's body, so I decided to make it myself. So just taking your piece of purple or whatever colour you're working on, felting between my fingers, but I just want to get this to be a nice flat finished edge because that is what's going to be his lips. So I made 2 straight pieces of fleece that were going to be his top and bottom lip, and then I felted them on into place around his mouth, just experimenting with the amount of teeth I was leaving exposed. I also, with the front lip, as I was felting it, I just pinched out and let it curve down so that the middle of his front lips pointed slightly down, and it almost gives him a slightly snarly look as the lips are pulled back slightly over his teeth. Again, totally optional. Did that with the first dragon as well, and it doesn't look quite so snarly. He looks quite a bit friendlier. Once I've got that covered, other steps included just making his head, which is just literally a wadded up ball of fleece, nice, any size you want. The bigger size just gives him a bigger forehead, could make him more cartoony. Smaller gives him a neater head, but just a ball that comes slightly round the side of his head as well, and I felted that on to give the shape of his head. Some eyes in, and then made some eyelids like this, the same way as I'd made the lips, really, just much smaller. So felted a piece of the merino to make a nice firm edge, nicely felted edge to be his eyelids. I did upper and lower eyelids and just felted them round his eyes, and you can change his expression with how you move, how you position the eyelids. You can make his eyes more round or more closed and sinister. Just felt along with that until you feel you're happy with how his eyes look. His nostrils were the exact same thing again, 2 strips like this, just felted with a solid edge, and then I've put them in a small C shape just at the end of his nose. Again, work on the positioning of these till you're happy with where they are, and felt it nice and firmly in place. And his ears, again, I wanted this pink colour in the inside, so I felted triangles in purple, added the pink for the ears, and then felted the ears on. All that's needed to get to this step, but just take your time felting it. You can leave the teeth out, you can add the teeth, you could add more teeth, you could have the mouth closed, the mouth open, the eyes any way you want, but when you're felting this, just keep in your head an idea of what you're liking the look of and the shapes. So I liked almost having slightly more of an indentation between his nostrils. So I worked on, when I was going with the needle, I worked on making sure I was curving round the nostrils. So yeah, just in mind, if you're felting away and you see something that's starting to look nice, keep on focusing on that. Make that shape more so. You could have bigger eye ridges to give him almost eyebrows that would make him kind of look more friendly. I put the eyes on facing forwards because in all literature pretty much dragons are predators rather than prey. Predators tend to have forward facing eyes because they're focusing on what they're catching, whereas prey would have eyes further round to the side. I think when I'm making a dragon's head though, I do think kind of horsey. I'm more channeling the shape of a horse's head, so the longer nose with his nostrils and everything is similar to how I would make a horse's head, but just making the eyes more forward facing than you might on a prey animal. But so far, that's him. That's the stage I'm at with him. I'm going to go over and firm him up and tidy up any bits where the white's showing through. Just make sure the colours are nicely all covered over, and then I'm going to decide if I want any additions to him. If I do, I'll get back to you with those, but so far this is definitely a stage you could stop and say your dragon is complete. And I really hope you enjoyed watching me make him, and if you made any dragons of your own, please leave a link. I love dragons. Please leave a link, let me see the pictures, and thank you for joining me.